Yeah. I used to have some mics. I still have them. I still use them because I haven't bought more.
Hmm.
They're the first mics I bought for podcasting. They're like $50 at Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Damn, those mics were so bad. Like the guests would hold the mics, right?
Yeah.
Or the host
Yeah.
even. And when they would like talk, right, it would kind of like rattle. They would like, move the mic because they're like,
Yeah.
moving it to their mouth. You would hear like you would hear the XLR moving.
Rattle? Oh
You would hear
no!
like clink, clink, clink.
Welcome back to Kickin with Katelyn.
What the flying fuck is up, everyone? Welcome back to Kickin' It with Katelyn. Today, I have a special guest with me.
Hello, I'm Ever.
Yes, so I did talk about Ever in the last episode, and I brought him.
Thank you.
So, Ever, please tell us about yourself.
Gotcha. My name is Ever Calderon. I am the Dawa Studios manager for Dawa. I also freelance around Austin, and basically like south and a little north of it. I freelance I contract for the Pershing on the east side. I do like robotic camera work. And then I contract for Antone's downtown. It's like a blues and jazz club. I do robotic camera work is there as well. And then I used to have like my own production, so I would go and like produce for other people around Austin, but that kind of like my equipment is just not what it used to be anymore, so I only do a certain amount of things around freelancing now.
Like I've said, this man is like the busiest person that I know, and I'm so lucky that I got him here because clearly, like, he just ran down the list of the many of things that he does, and he's also really good at those things, and then he brings me in and teaches me those things.
Thank you.
So shout out Ever for that one. But we do have a pretty good agenda ahead of us today. I hope that you guys got your snacks, got your drinks. You definitely want to listen to this whole episode, so I'm not going to keep us from going any longer on this, so let's get right on into it. So for our first topic today, we're going to be talking about opportunities. I'm going to let Ever go ahead and start because I've been yapping a bunch already, so yeah, you can start.
Yeah, I would just want to say like, thank you for having me on. Great opportunity to be here and seeing you at your studio. Like it's great. I feel like when I first started. But I wanted to talk about like, feeling out opportunities and, when to say yes and when to say no. Cause, when I started with Dawa Studios, like Shaka, messaged me on Twitter and was like, do you want to build a studio? And I was like, yeah, just a random person DMs you and is like, can you do this for me? And I said, yes.
Wow. First of all, wow.
Yeah.
You're freaking crazy.
But I was talking to somebody from like Dallas, and we were talking about like, nobody usually makes it just off of like hard work. Mm-hmm. There's like luck and like big breaks.
That's very true. That's very true. You're right.
Yeah.
Just letting y'all know right now. And the algorithm on social media can't tame it. So yeah, you definitely need luck on that one.
Yeah. So like, and then that was one of those moments where like, without that, I don't think I would have been able to like quit my job the way I did. But even then, I didn't get paid for like 10 months after that. So those 10 months really put me in the ringer of like, okay, I gotta hustle. Like, I would stay home all day because I didn't have enough money, like enough gas money to go to Austin and come back.
Hey, I mean, but that's how it is. And
Yeah.
like, that's a perfect example. Like, you're in a great position now,
Mm-hmm.
like an amazing position that I aspire to be in eventually, is that you can never do enough free work. You have to do free work in order to get good places. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. Of course, eventually you do have to get paid, but you have dues that need to be paid before you can enter.
Yeah. And so like with the Dawa thing, I thought I was going to get paid like as soon as I said yes, but he was like, no, we haven't even started. Like, we got to wait. And like through that, I learned like patience because I had none at the time. So I said yes to that opportunity. And then, eventually Dollar Studios comes, and then I'm like working with all kinds of podcasters and people who are like, yo, if I build a studio, like, will you come work for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what do you have? And they're like, well, I want you to build the studio, then I want you to rent it, and then I'll pay you from like the people that book it. And I was like, I don't know. And it was just like seeing the way they podcast, and like you could just like feel like a vibe, like just like, do I want to go and start another studio and then try and run that for them and organizing it? And so like I've said no to probably like 2 to 3 people who like wanted their own studio, or somebody who will like pull me in for like consultation about like, hey, we have this empty room, like what do we need to make it poppin'?
Mm.
And I'll be like, everything, like
Yeah, you got nothing on the walls.
yeah. they'll have like 2 Yeti mics and like a LED strip, and they're like, what do we need? And I'm like, oh, like where do I start?
What's the budget?
Yeah.
And usually it's like, well, I get my paycheck this week.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you're fucked. You know, that's really awesome that people approach you, but a lot of people are going to approach you in this industry with no money and just like a dream. And like you're saying, some people, their dream is thought out, you can do it, but that's really like a one-time thing, because once you have to wait for a long time like that, it's like, I'm not willing to do that again now that you're at this place that you're at now.
Yeah. And then like that was the thing too. Like back then when I first started, I was like living at home and I didn't have like too many expenses and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then nowadays it's like I know my worth, and like I can do free things. Like sometimes I do free things like so I can get a connection or like build that base relationship, and then we can like work after that.
Yeah.
But after that, no. Like we're like now I'm like raising the rates, and then people will be like, you know, I can't afford that anymore. We're like, or they'll be like, well, I just won't hire you as much. And I'm like, that's okay. Like to me, either the work was like too ball busting for what I was doing it for,
Yeah.
and it wasn't worth it. And so like, man, I did a gig one time. It was like 16 hours from like 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. and it was like $300 physical. And I was just like, nah, I'm done. That's the last time I'm working for that rate.
Yeah. And like before y'all are like, oh, $300 is good. That's really not good. I feel like it gets pretty muddy with work in this industry. Like you don't get breaks. You're lucky if you get to go on lunch. It's really hard on the body. It's a lot of hard labor. I mean, like I am giving us the opportunity to sit here and be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
We're usually behind the camera, doing the lights, getting the audio correct. And then managing people is on a whole nother level.
You're thinking constantly.
And that's so straining. And it's not like, oh, well, let's drink another Red Bull and let's do another Monster. Like, we can just do this. But then, like, those people expect you to go home and edit the second that you reach your house. It doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. So when you really think about how many hours we're putting into a single production, we don't get paid worth a shit. So
yeah,
that's really not that much money. Another thing with you saying earlier that, like, your rates are going up, I'm so happy for you. And a lot of people really do complain about that, but I feel like there's a lot of times where I've gotten the shit end of the stick where I'll be like, hey, like I can do this for you. And I always lowball myself. Like I'll be like, yeah, I can do like an Instagram video for you for $20. Oh, that's easy. You know, 60 seconds. So easy. The people who are paying me to do that, they want like a 4-hour shoot and they want me to edit it all within the same day. Baby, that ain't $20 worth.
Yeah. It's a lot. Like I've had a lot of like, I've worked with a lot of people. Some I would like say like are mentors of some sort. Mm-hmm. You know, you meet older people or like, they don't have to be older, but some people are mentors in a way. And I remember I asked one guy, he was like a DJ. And I was like, you know, like how do you how do you raise your rates? And he's like, well, first you start low, like where people can afford you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you book out all your time. Well, you're not working like 365 days a year, but like,
yeah.
As much like time you have to like do that work.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're working 4 days a week, like, and all 4 days are booked up, and then you got somebody else being like, hey, can I book you? So you go to your lowest client and you're like, listen, I need this much money or we're going to have to end it. And then if they say, I can't pay you that much, then you end with them and you get a new client and you raise your rates. And then when somebody else asks again, you do the same thing.
Dang, I'm going to have to draw like some animations to that because that was some heavy shit right there.
Yeah. And I was like, that shit makes sense. Like,
it does though.
yeah. Cause you're like, okay, I'm busy. Like, and then also you're like, okay, like for me, like, let's say if I got to take a whole podcast studio to like, somewhere in Austin, right? Like drive like 45 minutes to get there, set up for like an hour or two, record for 2 hours, and then pack up for like an hour and then drive an hour home. Like,
that's a long time. It is a long time.
Yeah.
Like for most people who are in front of the camera, it's just like, oh, welcome in. Like, this is fine. Like, just sit down. We've been planning this for hours and hours ahead of time. Not just the actual physical, like, putting things together, but the thought that you have to do to make anything now.
Yeah.
To be par with anyone else. It's a lot. It really is a lot. And you don't get paid for that.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're going to, like, eat shit. That's... It's fine. But then it's like the building the connections is really great. And then like learning, or like you'll meet like a new person, and then you don't know like who that one person could be.
Yeah.
Or like they'll put you in contact with another person, and then you're just like sometimes I'll do a gig, right? And I'm like, oh, this is going to suck. It's going to be so long. I'm only getting paid so much. And then I'm like, there's got to be a reason, like, I got this gig.
Yeah.
And so I'll do it. And then, like, I'll meet one person and I'll be like, oh, this was totally worth it. Like, this was, yeah, I needed that. Like, and, like, that'll make the whole day. It'll make up for everything. So. But that was something I didn't even, like, realize was the pay, like, $300 for, like, a whole day. I would compare it like back then, like when I was leaving HEB, I would work like 30, 40 hours.
Yeah.
And I would make 300 to 400 like in like 40 hours. And I was like, oh yeah, if I can do that like in a day, like I'm set. Like
yeah.
I don't have to work at all. And then, but yeah, like it's different because like I'm spending a lot of money on gas. Like my car is like 14 miles to the gallon.
You're lying. Are you for real?
Yeah, I got a heavy ass car.
You need to ride a bike over here. I should have just picked you up at that point.
Ugh. So like it's the gas money, right?
Yeah.
And then you're on location and you're like, I'm gonna die if I don't eat. So you're spending another like 20, 30 on lunch.
Because you got to get it delivered most of the time too.
Oh man, I go get it like if I have to like.
But you use the pata mobile. You gotta walk. You gotta walk.
Anything that's close. Anything that's like I'm eating like all kinds of food, right? So like 20, 30 on like food. Let's say you put like 45 in gas, 30 in food. That's like $75 like just to get there, get the job done, like eat.
And this is not like a pack your lunch kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean you could, but then it's like
no, you're already carrying like
everything.
Wagons load.
Yeah.
Of equipment, so it's not gonna happen.
So like just the cost of everything goes up, and then it's like sometimes like what if I came and then I had an extra person and you were like, oh, or I was calling you ahead of time like, yo, bring an extra mic.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's not that easy, bro. Like I need a mic, a cable. I'm like I gotta go buy that, and then that's more money for the production.
Yeah, we're magical, but we're not that magical. Like realistically, there's so many steps to do one simple thing, and it's ridiculous. Going back to what Ever said is that he meets people. Ever knows everyone. Anytime that I'm going to go help him, he's like, "What's up, man? What's up, man? Hey, girl, it's nice to see you. What's up, man?" And I'm like, can we start now? I'm like, I don't know anybody. Ever always has the hookup.
Yeah.
So, like, you have built, like, I love the fact that whenever I go somewhere with you, you know everyone. Like, that just shows that when you put in the time and the effort, people respect you and they want you to be part of their community. So, ultimately, like, you know, I met you in a community at HEB. We met at HEB.
Gang, gang.
We had to think about that for a really long time. When someone asked us how we knew each other, like, what was it, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, yeah.
We were like, I don't know how we know each other.
What? We went to high school together?
It was just HEB.
It was just HEB?
We were in the trenches.
Yeah, it was not fun. I remember, well, we worked at one HEB together, and then I moved to another one.
Yeah.
And then my manager there, I would be like, hey, can I leave like 2 hours early so I can go record a podcast? And she'd be like, sure. So she was really cool. Like, I wouldn't be here without her support. She really helped me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really surprising.
I invited her to like the grand opening of like Dallas Studios, and she didn't reply back.
Make me cry. Well, I mean, she's real, but sometimes real doesn't recognize real.
Well, she had like a husband and kids and a full-time job, so I don't think she could.
She probably just blew it off, like, it's just,
Yeah, I'm in the ghetto. She didn't know. At the time when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job, I was like, I paid off all my credit cards and I had bought, you know, I thought enough equipment at the time. I was like, I don't need any more cameras, I don't need any more mics, like I'm good. Like,
yeah.
And I had like $1,000 cash, and I was like, "Ooh, boy!"
You can do it.
I was eating like the at the time HEB had like these like meal bowls. I was eating those like on Wednesdays they were $3, so I was like eating those.
$3.
I was like, I was like eating good, and I had the money, and then Dallas Studios came, and I was 21, 22, and I was like, it's now or never. And I was like, I don't think there's a better time. Like, what am I going to do? Like, wait? Like, how will I know?
Dude, that's making my heart race just thinking about it.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. And then so I remember like walking to the office at HEB and like, I want to quit. I want to put in my 2 weeks. And they're like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And so like I signed the paper and I was like, here you go. They're like, okay, October 18th is your last day.
Oh my gosh.
And then so like I was like, all right, cool. And then I didn't tell anybody. Like I would tell like a couple of people like, yo, I'm gonna leave. They'd be like, haha, you're funny. And then I remember on the last day, like the day like I left, like I clock out and I'm done. Mm-hmm. I remember my manager came up like curbside and he was like, hey, I hear you're leaving. Like, did you put in your 2 weeks today or is like today your last day? And I was like, no, today's my last day. And this is like the last hour of my shift. Mm-hmm. And he was like, man. Like they were going to bust my ass for like the 2 weeks. And I was like, I'm glad I didn't tell them. Like,
yeah.
Because they would have been like making me like do all the heavy stuff and.
Dude, yes.
Grunt work.
They were smart.
Yeah.
But you could have been smarter and been like.
I was smarter. I didn't.
You could have been smartest, been like, no, I'm just quitting now. Hey, but now you can go back to HEB if it fails. Hey, when you're 60 years old and you want a job.
No, I mean.
You can go back, technically.
I see some of the managers there and they're like, Ever, come on, like, come just pick up like a weekend shift. Like, come back to work. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll do it if you pay like $50 an hour. And they're like, no.
Dude, Ever always spoils me with the opportunities. I'll go and I'll help him, and it's like Disneyland, basically. And then I go back to HEB, and it's like grueling labor.
That's the way it would be. Like, okay, so look. Okay, before I got the message from like Shaka about Dallas Studios, right? Mm-hmm. I had joined a podcast in Austin. I was like, your production's ugly, let me do it for free. They were like, okay, sure. And through that podcast, like I met like a bunch of people, and like those people would hire me. Like I would see their guests and they would hire me, and I would meet more people and they would introduce me to more people. But that podcast, man, like So I would get off of work at like 8 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would get off at like 6 or 7, drive an hour to Bee Caves from like Buda or Kyle. Right? So I'm driving to Bee Caves. It's like dark now. I have like all my equipment in my car. It's like hot because it's been in the car all day.
Yeah.
And then I'm like sweaty. I've been like pushing carts. Like I'm like, ugh. And so like I get there and I set up, and then, like the guest gets there, and like the hosts, they're like hanging out, and I'm like setting up everything. I'm like checking all the audio, video, and they're like, all right, let's start the podcast. But the thing on this podcast was they would buy a brand new bottle of like alcohol of something.
Oh, okay, to drink.
Yeah, and we would finish it.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, before we start, let's do a shot. When we start, let's do another shot.
Oh my gosh.
During it, let's do another shot. And then like, man, so like you would just like, you would hear their stories. You would hear like what they say. You would be like just drinking and like having fun, and you're like laughing and all that.
Yeah.
And then like you pack up and you like tell like more stories and stuff. And then like you're like, haha, that was good, guys. All right, like I'll see you. Like you go home and you wake up and you go back to HEB. And like you'll see like the other coworkers, they're like hungover, like sweating alcohol, like, oh man, we went to the square, it was crazy. And then you're like, no, this isn't it. Like it's not.
Mm-mm. That loop is one that you don't want to be part of. Like
Yeah.
once you start, like I said, it's like spoiled. Like it's going back to it, you just can't.
Yeah.
You just can't. And honestly, right now I'm really battling with that too. I've been battling with it. And it's not just HEB. We're not just sitting here bashing HEB. It's like once you go to entertainment and then you go back to like a regular like 9 to 5, it's really different. Not to say that our work is easier. It's taken a lot of free hours to get here, but it's just completely different.
It's like the Fight Club.
It is. It really is. And like people in entertainment, they want to be there. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, I work at the grocery store or I work at the shopping center. Like you have to do that. Anyone can do that. But because we're in entertainment, people want to do that. Like people want to show up to be in front of the camera. People want to show up to be in the back of the camera. Like it's a lot more passion that fuels the business, I think. So it's just completely different like atmosphere.
Yeah, but that passion is also like what makes people work for free, or like them getting like, you know, like messed over on like the money and like all kinds of like labor and like hours and stuff like that. But like everybody's got to pay their dues, you know, like it sucks, but it happens.
Yeah.
Or like I see people who go to like college and then they're just like not doing anything. I'm like, what? Because like I was going to ACC for like engineering.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I just couldn't focus, and I was like, I don't think this is it. And then I made the short film where I learned everything, and I was like, yeah, this is better. Like I can do this.
Yeah, and another thing about our background, y'all know I go to school for this. Ever didn't. And look where he's at. So it's not like you have to follow this one specific path. And then like also I work at ACL Live. I've been bothering them like, hey, did you go to school? Hey, did you go to school? What do you want me to do? Like, what should I do in order to work here? None of them went to school. Like only a couple few, and they just got their lucky break because they knew people. I am trying so hard to be networking like Ever tells me I should. Man, it's hard. It's really hard because then you have to remember what people do, what their names are, and you have to have like some weird, silly conversations. And it's like, still, those are dues that also have to be paid. And when I'm speaking about like free work, it's because you volunteer to do that work, not because you got fucked over and they didn't pay you when you're supposed to be paid. Like,
Yeah.
there's different levels of like paying your dues, and voluntarily doing free work is part of paying your dues, or going through something really shitty that no one else wanted to do, but hey, you did it and you showed people what you can do. So that's
Yeah, that's a big one.
part of this roller coaster.
Sometimes like I got how do I say this? It's like an Austin NPR radio station called KUTX.
Oh, yeah.
KUT,
Yeah, yeah.
KUTX. They had a podcast. They hired like a media company to make a podcast. And that media company hired me. And so like I got to like go around like the radio station and like record there and stuff like that. And I was meeting all the other people that worked there. And then after the podcast, I would sometimes like go back and I would learn from like some of the hosts, the radio hosts, or like the podcast hosts, or they even have like a studio like for bands. I would learn from like that guy. And I was just like, I was like seeing so much and like seeing how like other people do things and like how like big businesses do it. And then like I thought, like, oh, if I get in here, like this will be great. But like I was like learning it and seeing it, and I was like, maybe this isn't like really for me.
Yeah.
There's like job security, which is like nice, but I think at this point I'm like too hungry for like, if somebody was like, Katelyn, like guess what? I'm gonna pay you like 40 hours a week, like $30 an hour, like you're just gonna be doing this.
Yeah.
And you're like, they're like, we need you here from, from 12 to 8, right? Every day, don't miss, or you don't get paid, or and you're like, fuck. And then other people were like, hey, you do this, like I see your podcast, you're consistent, like everything great. Come do this. It's at like 6 to 9, and you're like, I can't.
Dude, that's the worst. I hate when you text me and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
It like hurts your soul because like you really do have to be like putting your hand in everyone's pot in order to get the coverage that your production deserves, essentially. I feel like a lot of the time it's like, do I screw one person over or do I screw myself over? And you're always going to choose to screw yourself over. But whenever I say no, I sit there and I'm like, in the shower or at night, I'm like, man, like, did I just miss a really important opportunity because I did this because it sounded better at the time? But it's like, your reputation really does matter, especially if you just show face. That can go so far, but you have to like be willing to be there.
Yeah. And then like you never know who knows people, and then like who other people know. Like one time I got an email and they were like, hey, we want you to do like a live stream at our event. And I was like, okay, like I don't know who this person was. They just emailed me. I said yes. And then I'm at like a couple months later, like the event's like 6 months later. I'm like, they emailed me, and then like the event's like 6 months later, like, right?
Yeah.
And then a couple months later I was at ACL, like leading up to the event. And I'm like partying, I'm like drinking, I'm like, woo, woo, woo. And then I see something like one of my friends, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Hey, how's it going? I give them a hug. And then she was like, oh, hey, did so-and-so contact you? And I was like, how did you know?
Yeah, wait a minute.
She's like, I told them about you, and I told them to hire you. And I was like, oh my God, that was all because of you? She was like, yeah, like I had to.
Thank goodness you said yes, too.
And I was like, thank you. Like, that was great.
Yeah.
And it was a big gig. And I was just like, this is crazy. And that's just like somebody putting you on. But then like me right now, I also have the potential, like I have so many great contacts, and it's like, I can like go into my phone, I can just call somebody and be like, let's work on something, or like, what do you got?
Yeah.
But the only like drawback that I have from that is like, I don't have equipment, so I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I have the know-how, but I don't have equipment. But if I did have equipment, man, I'd be going crazy. I'd be like, yo, let's plot and scheme. Like, let's do this and this and this. Like the next thing I think I want to do, I want to, get my LLC. I want to take out like a business loan, buy my equipment, maybe some like other equipment for like other kinds of people's, like kind of like videographers and photographers and like audio people. Like, I'm not gonna go all out like I am for like my podcast equipment,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get them a little something so they can like use my equipment and they don't have to
Yeah.
worry. But I'm gonna do that, and then I want to do production for DreamCon.
Ooh.
You know DreamCon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's just one phone call away.
Dude, that's so much. But that's like amazing that you're like in that position where it's like, as soon as I want to do it, we can do it.
Yeah. And I'm just like, but it's like, at this point, like, I have to be ready before I call the shots. Because I think that's like a hard lesson I learned recently is like, I wanted to do like an audio thing for South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And I pitched the idea and there was like 1 week to do it. And it was just like, I didn't have the time for other people to like to explain it to them, like to work with others to get the idea done, and it was canceled. And I was like,
I know what you're talking about.
I was like, damn, like, I guess like it. I guess for me, like I feel like I need to create it and like have it ready, and then when I present it, I'm like, here it is, by the way.
Yeah, that's hard.
And then, you can't really say no when it's ready. Like, it's like right there.
And it's hard not to talk about something that you're working on too, or that you're putting all your hours in on, because it's like, oh, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I'm not going to tell you because if I don't finish it or if I can't show you right then and there, you're not going to pay attention to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like secret stuff that you have to do in order to be like, hey, this is my thing. Like, it has to be done to pitch your idea.
Yeah.
And that's like so much wasted time. But I feel you on that. Like, I've talked about, oh, I want to do this and that. And then they're like, what do you got right now? And I'm like, well, it's just an idea. So.
Yeah. You're like, it's killer, but theoretically.
But you have to be on board first.
Yeah. It sucks. Or like, how often do you, like, I know you were like practicing in here with like, just like objects in front of the camera, but like, how often are you like researching with like your equipment and like trying different things out?
Dude, I want to be so honest with you. None. None. But I have the excuse of like, I get to work with other equipment at school. So I have some practice. Like, I still think that I'm really weak at the camera, but the class that I'm taking now, we work on a Sony camera. Mm-hmm. So I've learned some more of the trade, but I'm really not looking stuff up unless I need it, essentially. Like, unless I need that cut or I need that effect in, like, Premiere or Audition, I'm not going out and looking for it.
Mm-hmm. Like with your...
But that's very different between me and you. Because I know the shit that you be on.
Yeah. Like, I found... You don't have an ATEM Mini, but I found this app for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, like, connect it to an iPad. And it has this video follows audio. So it'll automatically switch.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
And I'm like, man, I've been trying to get this thing to work, but I'm like, I think it's because we have like a Google Fiber router or something like that. Like, it's just being weird.
Yeah.
But if I got that working, I could podcast all day and like not lift a finger. Like, I would just check audios, check lighting, check color, and then check levels, and then
that's it.
And then just hit record, and then just make sure it's following for the first minute, and then go do whatever. Like,
go ahead and take your beginning shot with
them. Oh, y'all want to do it? Y'all want to do a 2-hour podcast? That's fine with me. I'm gonna get lunch. Like,
be right back. Don't call me if something messes up.
Yeah. So like, I just like the innovations. Like, it's like one of my favorite things. Yeah. Like organizing my files too. Like, I saw this Casey Neistat video, and he panned to the wall. And he was like, these are all my hard drives. Like, I don't delete anything.
Dude, are you for real? Like, they're just, like, physical, like, right there?
Yeah, it's like just a wall of hard drives.
Maybe I should do that, because mine is getting full.
Yeah, like...
but one is going to be kind of weird.
One hard drive?
One on the wall. Frame it.
Just in the corner right there, and then just stack them up.
Dude, they're expensive, too.
Yeah, I bought, the first one I bought a 500 gig SSD from Samsung, like a T5, and I was like,
yeah,
yes. And then I was like, who's getting full? So I bought a 5 terabyte, like Lacey, and then I was like, I'm never gonna run out. And then I started doing the purging, and it was like one video file was like 400 gigs. I was like, oh, this isn't right. And then so from that, the Lacey got full, and I was like, I gotta go bigger. So I bought like a 14 terabyte like hard disk drive.
A hard disk.
And so like you have to plug it into the wall and then plug it into your computer. Like
That's intense though.
it needs that much. And like I filled the first one up, and then maybe a couple months ago I bought another one. Because like now I have Dollar Studios hard drives, and then I have my personal hard drives, and then I have the Pershing and the Antones. And so like if I record it, I like to like save a copy. And so I'll just back it up onto that thing. And I'm like, okay, like we're getting there. And I only have stuff from like 2022. I didn't save, or like 2021 maybe, but I didn't save early 2021. Because like I didn't see that. I was like, I'm never going to need this again.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, like I wish I saved it, like to see what I did. Or like, I think it's good that you're recording yourself too, because like, man, you're going to want to look back. Or like maybe even like after these, damn. Even after, I was like, why do podcasters always hit the mic? But I see it now.
You just did it.
Like even after these podcasts, or these interviews, like you keep the camera rolling and then you just talk to it like about like your day, your week, or your month. Like summarize it.
Yeah.
Like just get it out there like for yourself. Because like I wanted to like journal like everything that I've done, and like you'll forget. You're like, Katelyn, how did you even like experience that camera for the first time? Like, you know, you might remember now, but tomorrow you might forget.
Yeah.
And or like somebody will ask you like, you know, when you're older, like, how did you make it like this? Like, what did you do? And you'll be like, I don't really remember.
Dude, every time you tell me that, I come out of my body and look at myself.
Yeah, it's like I was watching like old videos of me, and I was like,
oh, that's such a weird moment. Oh, I try not to do that. Just because, like, we're young.
Yeah.
I think we're very young right now. But, man, it makes me feel old. And I'm like, wow, like, this is the time that you wanted to be a video editor. And you didn't even know what you could have been capable of. Like, and this is just young me speaking to younger me. And I'm like, that's insane, because you think you know. And then you watch younger you and you really didn't know shit.
Yeah. Or like back then, I remember like one of the big lessons I learned was like I sat down with like, I guess like a mentor or something like that, like a friend, and they were like, listen, Ever, like, don't burn bridges. And I was like, that makes sense. Like, okay, I get it. And then when we later on in the future, we burned that bridge. And I was like, this doesn't, but like I can think back to that moment, but like I don't really have anything to remember it by.
Yeah,
like,
you don't know how you felt at that moment. Like, how did that feel to take that in when it's like, it doesn't apply to you yet?
Yeah. Or like, sometimes I wish like making like a blog or something was like easier, but I'm like, I'm a videographer. Like, I'm like, you know what? I could just take the camera and walk around and hold it, but I'm like, I kind of want good audio. So like, let me get the zoom out.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're like, I could use a little lighting, and
then it's like, I have to stand still in order to get this shot. Because it's like, yes, we can make whatever we want with the same iPhone that everyone else has, but then I want people to take me seriously, so it has to look like it's top-notch quality. So I feel like in the iPhone, like TikTok sense, we're robbing ourselves because we can never be on the same level because of what we aspire to be with like the normal people. Like, especially like when I make TikToks, I'm like, oh, I have to make sure the lighting's good. Oh, well, my audio always sucks in comparison to what we're doing here now. Like, this is a whole extra, like, what is this, like 5 pieces? Imagine if I wanted this audio on a TikTok. You have to just drag a wagon with you every time and make sure that you have an assistant to help you.
drag a wagon.
Dude. Just saying. Like, once you've once you've gone to one certain like quality, I feel like you can't go back.
Yeah, I used to have some mics. I still have them. I still use them because I haven't bought more.
Mm-hmm.
They're the first mics I bought for podcasting. They're like $50 at Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Damn, those mics were so bad. Like the guests would hold the mics, right?
Yeah.
Or the host even. And when they would like talk, right, it would kind of like rattle. They would like, move the mic because they're like moving it to their mouth. You would hear like you would hear the XLR moving.
Rattle? Oh no!
You would hear like clink, clink, clink.
Dude, because it clicks.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God. Like,
It clicks.
Suck so bad. But it's because like the SM58s are like $100 a piece.
Dude, they're expensive.
And
really expensive.
And I was working at HEB and I was like, I'm making $300 a week. Like,
this ain't gonna cut it.
I was like, I can't afford those. And then like maybe like a year ago, I bought one SM58. It's nice. It's really nice. I mean, that thing can cut out sound, but I'm just like, I need 3 more.
Dude, it really blows my mind whenever I see like a podcast roll through and they got the SM7Bs and they're just like personal podcasts. And I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Because that is a $500 microphone and you're just like casually speaking into it and your content is shit. Like, what do you do that you had enough knowledge to just buy
An SM7.
First of all, a Shure microphone and you bought the top notch one? Like,
they probably bought a kit.
dude, that's even worse. That's a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, people like just recently, people will call me and they'll ask me about like equipment, and I'm like, yeah, you could just spend the money and buy it, but like, have you thought about what you're doing? Like, like they were gonna buy like a lavalier, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, but it's just one lav and one like receiver, and I was like, okay, but isn't there multiple people on like the podcast?
Yeah.
They're like, well, yeah, we could just buy more. And I was like, was there other versions of it? They're like, yeah, there's one with like 3 mics and 1 receiver. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you buy that one? They're like,
yeah,
it's not here. And I'm like, okay, well, how much is the single one? They're like $300. I'm like, how much is the multiple one? They're like $350. And I was like,
you can always just turn off the other 2 channels. Like, what?
I was like,
but that $50 is just so much more, though.
They just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And their podcast was like in like 8 hours. They were like shopping for equipment at Target. And I was like, this is just not the way to do it. Like,
no, just cancel it. And then you need to sit here and think about it. Like I was saying, you really have to think about this shit. Like, you have to think about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even like the XLR cables that I have, first of all, if they were wireless, that'd be even better, but that doesn't exist yet. So I bought the 90-degree ones.
Yeah.
Just because I think those look a lot more sleek. But it's like, I had to go looking for that.
Mm.
Like, you have to think about stuff. And I didn't think about the reflectiveness of this table, but it's also like, if the light is lacking, it's like
bouncing off.
Yeah.
You
so you
put
can
a
see
nice
the double chin.
You could put a nice little table mat on this or something.
I think that for the future, I won't get a circle table because I thought this would work well.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times I'll always like hit my guest's knee or like they'll touch my leg and I'm like, like I'll get like a straight across table. But I think this is more pleasing in the room that we're in.
Let's say you had a 2-camera setup. What angles would you get of like you and your guests?
2 cameras. What angles will I get? First of all, we're doing the wide shot. And then my guest will have the second camera.
The solo?
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you? What would you do? Mr. 3-point light. 3-point camera set.
I'm... The wide is...
Or would you not do the wide?
Like from an editing standpoint, like if people are going to make reels, like the wide is a pain in the ass to edit.
Yeah.
So I don't like if I got to edit that, I'm not using a wide.
Yeah.
I'll just do solos and I'll put them like in the middle. Or like even Premiere Pro can auto edit now.
Shut up. Are you for real?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to have to look into that. And then you don't have to pay an editor, so you don't have to claim that in your taxes.
So, I mean, like, I always think about, like, the editing. Like, if I got to edit it, like, I'll do solos. So that way I can just, like, go back and forth and I'm done. But if it's somebody else and they'll say that, like, I want the wide on everybody and then the solo on the guest, I'm like, good luck.
Yeah. So, like, when you're doing 2 solos, there would be, like, some room for overlap to where you could get, like, a sense of space.
Yeah, I would do, like, if I'm looking at you like this and you're looking at me like this.
Yeah.
I would put me more on, like, this side of the frame, just a little bit. Like, there's a center right at my nose, right?
Yeah.
I'd probably put it, like, right here. And then I would have it, like, right here.
On the other side. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So, like, they're, like, kind of, when it switches back, they're, like,
so it's like
looking at each other.
You unconsciously are, like...
Yeah, you're still looking
in the
back.
Conversation. Yeah, that's nice.
Something like that. Like, that's what I would like. But
see, Ever always teaches me something.
Thank you. I've never seen the 90 bends on the XLR.
I like them.
Where'd you see those? Like, where's the first time you saw them?
Dude, I saw them online because, like, everyone else uses a shirt, and that's just straight.
Oh yeah,
because it's built in. Yeah, yeah, it's just straight. I think I actually saw it on TikTok one day, and the person was using it so wrong. They had it, like, on a handheld microphone, and I was like, why?
The 90 on a handheld?
Yes, why? And I don't know, I like lurk on Amazon, and I was like, yeah, those look good.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you, like, you know those table arms for mics? They clamp onto the table?
Yes.
I think those are butt cheeks.
Okay, I initially bought, like, 3 of those. First of all, look at my desk. She's thick.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen. And then also, like, when you move those, you have to, like, pull on it. And imagine if I had this, like, cheapo little table, the one that I have now, and I pulled on it. That shit's gonna break my table.
Yeah, and they leave, like, indent marks.
They do, because you have to screw it on, and it's like, it'll damage wood.
Yeah.
And then if it gets hot, like it does in Texas, it's gonna press up against the plastic.
Yeah, so, like, and then we had bought some, and, like, the XLR's soldering connections, like, broke off.
That's what I should have said. Okay, so I bought the 90-degree one because of the cable. One of my guests actually was like, why don't you just turn it around? Oh, why don't you turn it around? And I'm like, bro.
Turn it around?
Yes, like, flip the cable this way to where the wire goes up and out. And I was like, well, see, that would make sense, but that's for a normal person. I'm not trying to break these XLR cables early on, like.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be bending it like that to begin with, but like you said, you can hear whenever I touch it.
How you know how to, like, roll cable?
Yeah.
I remember I was at the KUTX. We were in the studio and, like, the session finished, and they had an intern, right? Like, the intern, like, walks up.
Yeah.
And he's, like, an audio intern. And they're like, okay, like, we gotta clean up. And they tell him, like, all right, here, we're gonna roll the cables. And he's like, okay. And they're like, look, you go under and then you go over. And he's like, everybody stops what they're doing, and they're watching this kid try to roll cables. And he's like, and then I was like, bro, try it like this. And he was like, and then his mentor is like, look, like, watch. He's like this, and then twist it, and like this, and then twist it, and like this. And the kid was like, okay, I think I just need more practice. Like, I'll come back and I'll have it by Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we were laughing.
Dude, okay, rolling cable is one of the most important things that you can learn how to do in production.
It's hard to learn, like.
Dude, it is. Like, why do we have to roll cable? And I roll cable so weird is what I've been told. So I'll do the loop, and then with the existing, I'll come from the right. I always come from the right. So loop, and then I'll throw my arm out underneath the cable so that my arm makes the loop whenever it comes back up.
You don't like twist your fingers?
No, because I twist my arm instead. I'm like, chicken wing, chicken wing.
Wait till you get, like, a long ass cable.
Dude, I know.
And then you're like, Like, no, this is too much.
I'm clipping. Sorry. Just like that.
This is the way we laughed at that kid when he was like, I'll have it by Wednesday. We're like, bro, you're not going to have it by Wednesday.
Dude, it's not common knowledge, but it's important.
Yeah.
Like, there's interns to rap cable.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, like, this is funny to see other people.
You
like,
beat level 1 already.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't came up. Wow. The last thing I would say is networking. You know, you never know who people are, who they know. Some of the best networking that I've done is on Twitter. Well,
It's called X now.
back in my day,
Back in my day.
Twitter was what I would pop off on. I was like, I would follow people. Like, I wanted to work in Austin, so like, I followed people in Austin, and I would like stalk them. Like, I would be like, okay, what are they doing? Like, they were talking to this person, or they mentioned this person, and I would follow that person and like read what they're doing, and then go back to the original person and like look up what they've done and like where they've been and what they're working on next.
So you work for the FBI.
Legally, I can't say, but so like I was like learning like, okay, like these people were connected, and then I would reach out and I'd be like, yo, can like I produce your podcast like I did, or somebody reaches out to me like, can you build me a studio? Or one time I saw this guy was like, hey, I just need somebody to come and record me for like 30 seconds.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, come and volunteer and record me. And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. So I went and recorded him, and it was a 30-second video, but it took like 3 hours to make it.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is good. Like, if you come back tomorrow, I'll pay you. And I was like, all right, bet. Like, I'll do it. He seemed like a good guy. So I came back tomorrow, and then we made like a 1-minute video. We spent like, again, like 3 hours working on it. I gave it to him, and he was like, all right, here's your payment. I made like $500.
You're lying.
Yeah, and this was in that 10 months of like when I quit my job and until Dava started.
You really needed that.
Bro, I did. I was living off like a credit card. Like, I used a credit card to put gas to get there, and then like I was like, oh my god, $500.
Did you cry?
Pretty close to it. But yeah, and that was just off of Twitter, and then like through him, like he booked me for a couple gigs for South by, and then I met some artists, and then like even nowadays, like I still see that artist and I work with them sometimes. And it's like everybody comes back, and like that one phone call from to DreamCon is like just somebody, like a friend of a friend that I've worked with. And they're like, last year they called me up and they were like, hey, can you do this? And I was like, I'm already booked. Like,
can you pay me more?
there's that, but then I'm like, sometimes it's good to like just jump like that, but the other times I'm like, nah, let's not.
Yeah, you can't always jump. Sometimes you gotta play it safe. Most times you should probably play it safe.
Yeah.
Can't be too reckless.
Like when I wanted to quit my job, like I was like meeting all the guests of the podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, I can work with them. I can do this. 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 And then the host would be like, bro, you're not ready. Like, don't quit your job. Because like we would have guests who'd be like, yeah, I quit my job and I did this whole time. But the guests would also be like, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, don't quit your job. Like, they would do that. They would look in the camera and say it. And they'd be like looking me in the face like of the monitor. And they'd be like, don't quit your job. And then I would tell the host, like, I'm going to quit my job. And he's like, don't do it. Like, you're not ready. And I was like, all right. I was like 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, you would see it happen. People would talk about it. And I forgot where I was going. It's because after every guest, I had more clients. So like I would work with them, or they would hire me, and I would meet their friends or their clients, and then I would like find more people to work with. And then like I found one comedian like slash radio host, and through him like I got like a constant gig. I joined like the Austin comedy scene, and then like I got to like produce like other shows. And then it was at the time like I was working the comedy scene. I was like meeting all the Austin comedians.
Trying to get up in there.
I was trying to record it, right? Like
Yeah.
I was trying to like be that guy. Man, that shit was rough. Like
Yeah?
I made like business cards, like my first ever business cards.
Uh-huh.
I would take them to shows and be like, "Hey, I'm recording your set. Like, here's my info. Like, contact me if you want it." Handing them out. And I'd sit there and like, these shows start at like 10 o'clock and they go to like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're like the dingiest, dirtiest bars.
They always are.
You're hearing the worst jokes in the world. Like, sometimes they're not even like, they'll be funny,
Yeah.
but then they'll be like way too edgy. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. So like you heard that, or like one time this comedian was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm recording the set." They were on stage. They were like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?" It's like, "I'm recording the set." And they were like, "Don't film me." I was like, "Okay." So like I just turned it down. And everybody was like, "Oh, this guy's recording us? That's weird." And I was like, "What?" And then sometimes I'd have people be like, "We only want the set if they're funny, so don't record us." And I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna go home. Like, y'all don't get it. Y'all don't
You're
get it."
performing.
Yeah.
Like, why are you gonna tell me don't make it unless it's funny? Then bitch, be funny.
Like I can't. I don't know how to do that. So like I joined the Austin comedy scene. I met comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I met a venue, and like I worked for the venue, and I worked for the artists and guests of that venue, and like I learned like equipment, and then I would work with other people from there. And then this was from like 2021, from like July 2021 to like now. And then I worked with Dawa, and I met everybody, like all the friends of Dawa, and then all the people that come through, people that want to support.
Yeah, a lot of cool people.
Yeah, and then like their friends and stuff like that. And then I met Antones, and then I met the people that come with Antones. Like I said hi to like Michael Pena during South by.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool, but it was kind of like I couldn't talk to him because he was just like walk here, walk there, walk here, walk there, and then he's gone. He's really Mexican. I didn't realize that.
A lot of people are short when you meet them too.
No, not that he's short. He's like, I think he's the same height as me or something. But he was looking for a charger, and like he like somewhere to plug it in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's an outlet right there. And he's like, orale. And I was like, what?
Sir, I speak only English. I do not know what that
Yeah.
is.
But it was just,
But yeah.
it was just funny to hear like something like that. Like I don't hang around with too many Mexicans.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Antones. And then like now I'm working with like business owners and stuff like that. Like, and they want physical stuff. Like they like they need to see numbers and like charts and graphs and stuff like that. And then who knows like what kind of network is after that? Like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What where are you at? Like when you network, like who do you go out with? I mean, not who do you go out with, but like when you go out somewhere, like who are the first kind of like people you're talking to?
Dude, I'll be honest. It's typically the people who want to be recorded. Mm-hmm. Just because I've noticed that, especially when working with you, if people know what you're doing, they'll come up to you. So like, I don't really go out to be like, hey, like, what do you do? Like, can I get in with that kind of thing? It's more so like, can I get someone to stand in front of the camera to show them what I can do is who I kind of go for. Mm-hmm. Just because without that person, I feel like the people who know what this is won't approach.
Yeah.
And they're always going to say something slight like, oh, I have that microphone. Oh, I like that shot. Oh, why do you like that microphone? Why do you like that shot? They're like teasing you like, hey, I know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how I get to know people. But I will say I don't know as many as you at all. Um, but I also don't think that I'm in a comfortable position to take a leap. So I'm like, okay with that.
Yeah, no, I would say until you know like a lot of people. Damn, somebody said like some rule of like
You told me a rule that if I didn't know 100 people in the industry, then I don't need to be quitting my HEB
yeah,
job.
that's what it
You
was.
told me that.
Yeah, somebody told me that, and I was like, it's a good thing. Like,
But that was like a long time ago that you told me that. Probably like 1 or 2 years ago that you told me that.
yeah, like
At the old studio.
I check my phone contacts. Let me see how many I have. I think I have like 200 or 300 contacts.
Jesus.
386 contacts.
Oh my gosh. Dude,
But
that means you save everyone's number.
yeah, um, but yeah. One time I went to like an event, and I walked in, and I said hi to my friend. Like he got us in,
Mm-hmm.
and then this other guy walks up, big old tall dude, and he's like, "Oh, what's up? Oh, you're Ever." And I was like, "Huh?" I'd never seen this guy. He's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you recorded me a while back." And I was
Oh.
like,
Did I?
Where? And he's like, somewhere. And I was like, oh man, I forgot. He's like, no, that's cool. He's like, good to see you though. And I was like, damn, like, it's like that?
Yeah, know people.
Yeah, yeah. And then like, or like, I see like HEB and like Buda as like a past life.
Yeah, yeah. As you should.
And then so like when sometimes I'll come back and like I'll see other people and be like, damn, what are you doing? What's up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, how's it going? I saw Brenda.
You told me that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just yeah, don't live in the past.
So before we finish today's episode, I'm sure that there's plenty of people who want to be in your position listening.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and give the viewers and myself basically whatever advice you want to give that you think would be important right now.
Ooh, damn, giving advice. I would say just to like, if there's something you want to do, like let's say you want to be a fashion designer. Like I have some friends that do that. Like, you can be somebody who like takes your own equipment and takes your own fabric and do it yourself. But I feel like to anything is like find somebody who's done it before or like are doing it already, and then just like watch and follow them and like learn what you can, and then just like learn as much as you can from them, and then try it on your own and stuff like that. Like I did a lot of trial and error like when I was like learning audio video production, and there was like really nobody to ask, so sometimes I would make big mistakes. And there was like nobody there. Or like Katelyn's learning like at ACL Live and ACC and all kinds of stuff. Like that's great. Like I was telling her like her reels and her videos look so good. I was like, did you take a class? And she's like, no, it's just that's just me. Like that's off the muscle. And I was like, damn, like what am I doing? Like, yeah, I think it's just like learning from other people. Like if you can like find a mentors, like more than one, definitely. It's not all just like, I guess I don't really know like Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen. They're not just like the really best race car drivers or stuff like that. It's just like there was other people around them that taught them different things. Like, their dads taught them like perseverance and like grit and heart and stuff like that. Like there's other people that teach you other things, like not just like, how to podcast or how to edit, and it's more than that. Like it's everything else and like how to be a human. Yeah, shut up and listen.
Slay. So that's actually going to be it for today's episode. Thank you so much, Ever, for joining me. I really appreciate it. Ever was kind of hard to get, but that's because he's busy, and that's totally fine. I'm sure you'll be requested. I'm going to request you again. So this is not the last time that you're going to see Ever. Like I've been saying for most of my early guests, man, we're just building a community here, and Ever's going to be part of this community. I'm forcing him. It's not an option.
I'll do it.
It's not an option. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to shout out any of your work or like any of your Instagram pages so that they know where to find you at?
Yeah, I have everything under EVER, Ever, J Calderon. That's my Twitter, my Instagram, my Venmo, my Cash App. So if you really want to get a hold of me, there's a couple ways you could do
Send
it.
them some money.
Get my attention, all right? And then, I have Cafe Yodo. That's going to be my business where I'll do productions, and then, have other people's contact info. Like, if I'm not available and you need production, you can go to Katelyn. You'd find her there, stuff like that, or like a DJ. Or who knows what you might need. It would be on there.
Yeah.
Cafe Yodo. I work at Dawa, DAWA, Dawa Heels on Instagram. I work at Antone's Nightclub. I work at the Pershing Hall. I'm around. I don't really post much on Instagram, but if you look at my tags, it's bussin'. Like,
It's there.
yeah,
It's
the
there.
work
People
speaks
post
for itself.
for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so y'all are gonna see Ever more, whether you like it or not, now that he has told you where to find him at. He's also someone who, if you meet him, you're never not gonna stop seeing him. So just letting you know ahead of time. But again, that's it for today's episode. You can always find me on TikTok and Instagram at kickingitw.Katelyn. And then of course you're probably watching or listening on Spotify, and I'll always be here. So I will see you next time. Bye.